It feels like something very big, very significant is going to happen this week. Let's look into it. Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. First off, a huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the channel. Thank you for your likes and your watches. Thank you for commenting on the videos, hyping the videos. Sharing the videos and watching them all the way to the end really helps the algorithm get to more people. So for that, thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you've donated money to the channel through Venmo, Buy Me a Coffee, the super thanks, a huge thank you. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. So it feels like something significant is about to happen. Now, the last few times I've had this feeling, I had this feeling the weekend that the Pope passed. I had this feeling the weekend that Biden announced that he had cancer. And I had this feeling the week that the felon sent the National Guard to Washington, D.C. So, and also once again with the big Texas floods, those horrible tragedies. So usually this feeling served me well in the past. I'm not always sure what it's about. Uh, it's not uncomfortable. So I don't think it's particularly negative in the sense of what I would perceive as negative, but we'll take a look. We'll take a look at the weather, for example, just to see. It feels more related to the felon. Is the felon going to be exposed with some Epstein stuff? Let's look into that. Just dirt on the felon in general. Uh, we'll look into that. Do people start turning on the Republicans because of the shutdown? Does MAGA start turning on the felon because of some of these Charlie Kirk text messages? The whole bunch of stuff is going on. Like it's hard to keep up. And then, of course, we'll check on the felon's health like we do pretty much every reading because I really do think things are taking a significantly bad turn in that direction. Now, I could be wrong, right? This is a tarot reading. Um, it's for entertainment purposes only. I could be right. I could be wrong. I'm right more than I'm wrong, but I've been wrong. Certainly, the general overall big themes I'm not usually wrong about. Like the way things feel, for example, that's usually pretty spot on. So let's start with the weather. I want to rule that out. I know there's some threats of some nor'easters coming in the East Coast. Um, so that's got the potential. I didn't look at the weather overall around the world or anything, so um, it doesn't feel like an earthquake or a volcano, although it wouldn't surprise me if we have an earthquake in like the Indian Ocean, that area, sometime soon. I have seen that, but it doesn't feel like that's this week, but yeah, it could be. Timing's very hard. Okay, what's going on this week with the weather? Do we need to know anything about the weather? Do we need to know about the weather? Just more want to rule this out for um, my own sake. Well, definitely some anxiety about the weather this we can make sure, I think I've said this before, and you certainly don't have to take my advice. I'm not, you know, uh the best at even following my own advice. So, but having one of those hand cranked radios wouldn't be a bad idea. Um, you know, having a little bit of extra food and water on hand wouldn't be a bad idea. I don't see anything. I'm just saying, just in case, it might make you feel more comfortable. Um, and there's some potential for some fire here with the Knight of Wands. Um, Potentially wildfires as well breaking out. That's a possibility. We have the card for the felon though. Um, the King of Pentacles. We get things happening swiftly, so it's possible some flash floods, some really quick wildfires. Maybe in the plain states, where there's no trees, it's just grass and burn very quickly. The Ace of Pentacles. This is our new reality. These sudden weather events. It's just a new reality. It's the way it is. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. We do get the Tower card. This dismantling of Noah, and then I forget who the new nominee is to be in charge of something who's completely unqualified. Not that anybody's qualified for anything in this government because they're not. Um, Abuse of power here, the Emperor card, and the Devil, toxicity, mis and disinformation, misdirection. And we get loss. Yeah, I mean, so if you've been watching this channel for a while, I'm not usually one to pause a lot. I was kind of hoping that the weather would just come across as if there's nothing there to worry about, but I'm not certain that that's true. I would definitely stay alert. I don't see anything. The cards are bad. The cards are really bad. There's a lot of anxiety. We have this new reality around climate change, and then we get loss. And we have abuse of power, meaning, the lack of notification systems is our new reality because of the felon. We have some sort of fiery type of energy coming. We have structures being taken down, and we have toxicity with the Devil card. We have things happening quickly. This feels like a flash flood or a flash like wildfire. It feels like the plain states, like grassland. I could kind of smell some smoke. Yeah, I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I am wrong. We do have the cards for the Democrats, which makes me think that there'll be reasonable funding to take care of this stuff. And we get the Five of Swords, so it's definitely gonna. No, doesn't feel like it causes loss of life. It just loss of property, which is never good for the people that lose property, but is better than losing life. Um, okay, so bad weather. I'm gonna put that as a big maybe. That's not what I was thinking. All right. Um, let's start here with uh, will there be dirt exposed on the felon? And then we'll move to the Epstein files in particular. Eric Swalwell said something like there'll be hundreds of Republicans walking away once things are exposed with Epstein, and where we live, I get a lot of political ads for Ohio and Kentucky because we're kind of right on the border here near Cincinnati. And there's an ad in Kentucky in particular playing for Andy Barr where he says, he's always been America first. He's always stood with Trump and he always will. And every time I've heard that ad, I've thought he is going to regret that. Like, like instantaneously the first time I saw it, and subsequently I've probably seen it two more times, maybe not a ton, but maybe three times total. I just have thought he is really going to regret that. Um, Not sure. We all know that the felon is guilty of lots of bad things. As far as, criminality, he's been convicted of 34 felonies. That's why I call him the felon. Is there going to be dirt coming out on the felon? And then we'll look at Epstein in particular and kind of see if Eric Swalwell's right about that. We get strength. Somebody has some information and they're keeping it quiet, trying to find the right time to bring it forward. It will cause the public to cringe with the judgment card. Here's the felon in his own reading, just confirmation. Fiery messages coming forward. At the center, we get victory. The question is, whose victory? See if we can get some clarification on that. Circles of support around money. Choices with the Two of Swords. And we get justice. Judgment, injustice, and the environment around is not good. And then we get the Three of Swords. Betrayal could have something to do with his heart as well. Because, his health is so important to him in the sense that he can't be seen as weak or ill or anything. Remember the stupid parade around town when he had COVID? I mean, what an idiot. Maybe it's been a long day. But yeah, I mean, watching him today gloating over the thing that he basically allowed to happen, it's too much for me. Um, Somebody knows something. I think they're waiting for the right timing, and I think it will be really bad. I just do. They're trying to time it right, though. Um, there are choices about it. It'll be enough to bring him down. When I pulled the judgment card, it was like just this cringy feeling. Um, and I associate that with how people are going to feel when they hear this fiery type of information. It probably has something to do with circles of support around money, like Epstein. We'll take a closer look at that here in a second. And justice is going to be served. Now, justice comes in many forms. Justice doesn't necessarily mean criminal charges. Justice could just mean something in the next life, right? Underneath, we have the Democrats again. I think the Democrats know something. The country moves forward with the Six of Swords and then the Chariot card. That's very positive. All right, so is this about Epstein? Mike Johnson's putting this off. I don't know if it'll really come out in the way that we think it will. I'm through Congress. I mean, it probably is going to come out in a different way. Um, so is the felon exposed in the Epstein documents? Like, is there something really damning? Not just he was on Epstein Island, but is there really damning stuff? These photos that Michael Wolff talks about, do they exist? Does the DOJ have them? I read on this months and months ago and said that they did. Here's the Three of Swords. There's something wrong with his heart. Betrayal, anguish. He's very nervous about these things. I always thought that this would be his undoing, would be something coming out really negative about him. Or, him getting really angry at something. Is he exposed in the Epstein files? Is he exposed in the Epstein files? Definitely. There'll be a lot of explaining to do. Um, yeah. The reason why I don't go too in depth on this is because it is darker than you can think. Whatever you think it is, it's darker. Again, this is a tarot reading. These are my impressions. I could be right, I could be wrong, but this is hard stuff to look at. And that's why I kind of just keep it pretty surface. Um, there's enough to threaten his stability. It's only a matter of time with the Eight of Wands. Yeah. The deceit, the deception, the secret movements, the manifests that he's on. Um, money moving around secretly, illusion and delusion, the Seven of Cups, the World card. I'm sorry, not the World card, the Empress card. The whole world's gonna know. That's what I first thought when I saw it. But also, you know, don't underestimate Putin's ability to make things happen in the United States. I'm not saying that all journalists are following Putin's lead, but there are some that are, and they're doing it unknowingly. That I'm fairly certain of. The truth is going to come out. The Ace of Swords, it just is. I wish it would come out already, but it's going to come out. We got things going on behind the scenes that we can't see. Yeah, I mean, it takes him down. Now, this could just be his reputation, though, right? Because he might not physically be here anymore when this happens. But if he is, I think it takes him down physically as well. And this is us moving away from the trouble. So whatever goods there are, Russia knows about, and it feels like they're ready to move forward with it. I think that's good for the country. There are things behind the scenes that Russia is doing to try to expose some of these. I think especially money and ties to Epstein. That's what it feels like. Um, the Eight of Wands. It's just a matter of time. It really is. It's just a matter of time. Republicans are delusional for thinking that they're going to be able to keep this secret and for thinking that they're going to be able to be associated with him. The truth is going to come out and it's going to bring a lot of people down, not just people in the Epstein list, but people that are associated with the felon, like that have defended him. The public's just not going to have an appetite for it. And we'll get the full card underneath, which is fantastic. This new beginning where they're just on the defense and everything is coming to the surface with the moon card, including his dementia and his health failing, and we get this new beginning, this new leadership, probably with Vance. We'll talk about that not being good, but whatever. um and it's a surprising new beginning with the Ace of Cups. Vance taking over is not going to be great, but it'll be moderately better in the sense of things won't be as unpredictable. And Vance is not in the Epstein files, and Vance isn't being blackmailed by Russia, you know, for entertainment purposes only. But okay, so does this make the people turn on Republicans? And then we'll look at MAGA specifically turning on the felon, and then we'll look at the felon's health. Okay. Do people turn on the Republicans because of this? The Two of Wands. Well, it's definitely having people rethink. Now, some people have a hard time voting for things that they're not used to voting for. Some people take the abortion issue as like strict dogma and they can't vote for Democrats. But the Democrats win ultimately. They get the victory card. So this definitely turns people away from Republicans. People are tired of trying to keep up with all of it. That's really the be all end all of it all is we're exhausted and we need a nap. And it's hard to take a nap when we have this crazy person running around that doesn't know where he is half the time and makes the stock market go up and down with tweets. And shuts down the government to try to keep the jobs report silent. Things like that. People are just tired of it. People want stability in the environment around. People have choices. They're starting to realize they do. Yeah, the Tower card. This is the stuff that tears down the Republican Party for the midterm election in particular. Emotional messages coming forward, things coming to the surface with the Moon card. This is the King of or the Knight of Cups, and we get protection with the Star card. I like this. People have choices, and they're going to choose hope over the crazy. People that have never voted for Democrats before are going to be voting for Democrats. It's just that simple. It's not going to matter all this gerrymandering that they're doing. They're just making the Democrats majority bigger most of the places. Um, you know, these messages coming forward over the choices that they've made, and people are just tired of trying to keep up with it all. So they're going to choose to tear it down. They're going to listen to everything coming to the surface, and they're going to choose stability. And that's why people go away from Republicans and Democrats become victorious. This is the way it's going to be. Republicans are quite defensive with the Seven of Wands. Things are happening way too fast that, like, once it starts happening, it's going to be quick. And we get, blind choices, people juggling things, making choices. The Hermit card, people being very introspective, and people realizing that deceit and deception is not the way to go. It's not working out thus far. And we get Temperance card, which is moderation. It's also the card after death. Um, and it keeps popping out, by the way. I don't know how many times we've seen the Temperance card, but it's there a lot. Okay, so does MAGA turn on the felon? Let's use this deck, I think. MAGA turning on the felon. What do we need to know? So it seems like Marjorie Taylor Greene is kind of done. Never thought she'd be a principled character, but I think she has some inside knowledge, and I also think she's enriched herself enough that she doesn't care. I don't think she ever did care other than making money. Okay, MAGA turning on the felon. What do we need to know? Feels right. And then we'll take a quick look at his health, which the cards have just been absolutely terrible every time we look at it. Here he is in his own reading. That's great. The King of Pentacles. Yeah, I mean, losing his reputation, the Five of Pentacles, loss, and justice. At the end of the day, when it comes to stuff like the Epstein stuff, I think most people just want justice. I don't think people care what their political affiliations are. If you are guilty of those type of crimes, I don't think people have room for it. And I don't care if you're the president, the felon, I don't think it matters. I just don't think people have Trevor. I don't think people believe it yet, but I think they will. We get death. And it's in the environment around. Now, I do think that it's been in the environment around for a while. Like death is swimming, so to speak, around him. And usually this means somebody's going to go relatively quickly. You know, but it's also could mean that this happens after he passes. We get the abuse of power card, the Emperor at the center. This is what's really making people mad, including MAGA, keeping the government shut down because of not wanting to swear in the Democrat from Arizona, not wanting the Epstein stuff to come out. People aren't stupid. People know that there's an easy deal to be cut with Democrats. Democrats have made it very clear what they just don't want insurance prices going up. That's their only demand. How dare they not want to raise your insurance prices? Um, it's just not working. And we get the Seven of Swords. The deceit and the deception in the environment around. People see it. They know. MAGA knows that there's something wrong here. They want the truth. And we get the Six of Cups. This again is one of the two cards that have little kids in it. And we get the King of Wands, just an eloquent speaker here. So the felon's abuse of power is being exposed. This King of Wands really feels like Gavin Newsom, somewhat JB Pritzker, but more Newsom. Uh, the truth about his abuse of power is coming out, and justice is coming. Now, this is probably a karmic justice. I don't think it has anything to do with law enforcement. We have loss in the environment around of his reputation. Why? Because of the Epstein stuff and his deceit and his deception. The question is, does it come before his death or does it help cause his death or does it just end the dark cycle that we're in? People are being introspected. They feel they're mad. MAGA people are mad. They won't say it publicly, but they're mad. The MAGA farmers are very mad. The spy in the camp, and people are willing to turn to the Democrats here and reevaluate their belief system with the Hierophant. There's things going on behind the scenes. These are the conversations happening. So, you know, it's not. I know it's easy to watch the news cycles and the daily stuff and think, oh, Republicans are doing quite well. He's pulling off all of these things. He's doing all these illegal actions, most of which is true about the illegal actions, but they're getting stopped and for the most part. It's going to be okay. It really is. Like by the time next summer comes around, it's going to be a much easier to breathe in place. It's not going to be perfect, but the Republicans will be knowing that they're heading towards a loss in the midterms and things will turn around. Election cycles, nothing big ever happens or gets done. And so really there's that to look forward to. Okay, can you tell us about his health? Um, I see the death card and the scramble. I've been seeing it for, I don't know, getting close to a week, I guess. I also see the flag draped coffin in the scramble. We get the Empress. They are being very cautious with his health. It's inevitable, the three. The Empress is also a three as well, by the way. Ill health, the Four of Swords. Also could mean that it happens when he's about to go to bed or sleeping in the nighttime, and therefore nobody finds him right away. I mean, it's not, we're not talking days, we're talking hours, but uh, judgment's coming. I think this is why he keeps talking about this heaven hell thing, his soul being good, justice at the center, karmic justice is coming. All will be exposed, the sun card, the voters, the Four of Wands. He's quite restricted. This actually feels like when I pulled that card, I could feel like a quick twinge in my chest, which don't worry, I'm okay. But it's kind of like feeling like like the heart can expand, right? Like there's fluid around it. And that galloping type of heartbeat, is kind of back in my ear now. So, um, yeah. And we get choices. Lots of major arcanas around his health here. So they're doing all they can to try to keep things in balance, but he still needs to make the right choices with the Lover's card. Um, the people are just ready for it to happen. They know he's ill. They're ready for him to go. It's just point blank that simple. It's inevitable that it's going to happen. I do think there's fluid up around his heart. Um, he's worried about judgment and everything being exposed, which is causing him extra stress. We get circles of support. There's going to be lots of celebrations when it happens. People are going to feel just much better when we get to this full energy of this new beginning. But currently, we're in this hanged man energy, which we've been in for months of just waiting. But we have protection here. It'll be okay. It really will. Um, I know some days that's easier to believe than others. I'm not naive, but it really will. He's crazy and it's hard to listen to and it's hard to see what's going on. All right, I will read on the King's protest or the No King's protest coming up this next weekend here soon. I also want to take a look at the 2020 uh, six election or 2025 elections. I mean, again, just a real quick look at that as well. So I'll be back soon. There's a lot to talk about. We'll see what the big thing is this week. I hope it's not the weather, but it kind of feels like the weather. All right.